Hi, welcome to class. We're the only two right now, but the other ones will show up eventually, right? I hate my life. I hate my life.
A Professor Sunreis Productions!
Hello class, Professor Sunreis here. In today's class, we're taking a look at my updated Bystial control decklist for the new format. So a lot of PHHY, a lot of Despia running around. Honestly, I'm just really excited for the format, especially with the new ban list format dropping on Book. I'm doing a lot of testing on there, grinding the ladder, but also doing some very good content for you guys, so stay tuned for that. And without further ado, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave some feedback down in the comment section below, check out my stream, and let's get right into the video. So, before we get into the card by card, quick theory rundown of how I built this deck, or why I built this deck, and what I try to beat with this deck. So this is built having a Kashtira / Despia as the best decks, or the best to beat / the decks to prepare the most for. In mind, though, I think the meta will be super diverse, so I really wanted to have a very generic main deck and then have my side deck be tailored towards these decks. Overall, I do think Kashtira will fall off or will be less represented than Despia, just because Despia is really a fan favorite in my region at least, and Kashtira is just super expensive. So this tries to be Despia a little more than it tries to be Kashtira, but also Despia is somewhat of a more hard matchup just because the Fallen of Albaz is just really hard to beat, and as long as you have non-engine to counter the Kashtira engine, the deck doesn't really do a lot. But like against Despia, if you Ash, they have Random Fusion, they can still just, if you can OTK them, do Fallen of Albaz dirty things with you. So this is what the deck is trying to do. And by the way, I'm not playing Drangling just because, for reasons which I will just go over later, or rather fast, I should say. So for the Bystials, I play 3 Lubellion, 3 Magnemite, and then 1 of each Saronia, Drewsworm, and Beldrake. The reason I decided to play this race is just because Lubellion and Magnemite are the most important ones, of course, and all of the other ones do have their applications. These, of course, for disruption, so I always will just search for them with the first Magnemite end phase search in my turn, either being the Beldrake if I don't have Masquerena or Branded Beast alive, or the Drewsworm if I have those things alive, depending on the matchup. Still haven't 100% figured that out, but this is like the broad thing I would just check for. Okay, Branded Beast / Masquerena, it is Drewsworm. If not, it's Beldrake. And the Saronia, I would like to play more than this. So if I would be siding Bystials, because they are just really good in the format again, I would probably side more Saronia just because they send Lubellion, and if you have Sacred up, then this is really good and gets you into your engine, so I really like that. And then for the spell traps, I play 2 Regain, 1 Branded Beast. It's weird with these. Branded Beast right now is super strong and very important to have, but Branded Regain is just better for the overall game plan of the deck. So I played 2 Branded Regain and 1 Branded Beast, so that I have a higher likelihood of seeing Branded Regain. It's also way easier to turn into something because this is just an upstart with some applications, or you need to commit a little bit into it, but this is basically just an upstart for the deck. And Branded Beast is just not as good to hard draw as Branded Regain. Also, for grindier games, if you use in the basic combo, use Branded Beast and face effect to get Regain for the opponent's turn at least. If they still out both of these things, it is super important to just have another Branded Regain in deck. And also for another engine we are playing, the ratio just made sense, but I will get to that later on. So this is the Bystial package for now. Let's just put these by the side. Now for the Chaos package, I should say, these are the best cards in the deck. 3 Chaos base, 3 Sacred. There's nothing really to say about these. These are the best starters in your deck. They get you to the 2 Baby Dragons. These are really good to loop with Branded Regained or Chaos base to have additional resources over and over again. Having discards for Masquerena setups. These are just really good. And as an additional target and really good addition to the deck, I play the Chaos Emperor. I've been really loving the Chaos Emperor in this deck. This was the missing piece which I was missing in my last regional topping list. This card is just really insane. Not only is this a second target for Dark Searches of Chaos Base, so if you have Chaos Base plus Chillhop Serpent, it was really awkward back then, but now I can just, if I need to go search for a Dark, especially because I want to pitch a light, so my Chillhop Serpent is alive, I can just search this, and this is just insane. And this is also probably the default search target of Magnemite in the opponent's turn. Because I search this then I can get back Banished Magnemite / Lubellion, and then I just can keep playing, and I have an additional 3k beat stick. This can out Floodgates. This really helps to OTK and helps solve the time issue a little bit with the deck, where Back then I didn't have enough pressure to go for game, but now with additional 3k beat stick, this is super easy. This is also OTK with access codes, which is really important because 2.5k plus 5.3 was not OTK, but with the 3k beat stick, it is OTK, so this is really helpful. And overall, it just really helps the deck to get just that additional pressure going on to end games faster, and also it helps you to get all of your one-off Bystials out of rotation. So oftentimes, especially with Chaos Base, you have to banish like the one-off Bystial. For example, if you have like Drew's Worm plus Chaos Base in hand, you need to pitch the Drew's Worm just because it makes the most sense. Then with this, you can at least get it back into rotation at some point, because the amount of utility they give to you is really important, especially Drew's Worm, so you don't want to miss out on that. And this card just really catapulted the deck, in my opinion. So shout out to Dewey and Bena for telling me to play this. I really love the card. It is super strong. And then for the next package, we have the Black Metal package. So together with Chaos Base and Safred, I have 9 one-card starters. This is not the most optimal amount, but it's still a very solid amount in my opinion. And 1 Black Metal, Red as Darkness Metal Dragon. I really like this package just because it gives me the most consistency available with the deck. And Red as Darkness Metal Dragon is an insane card in established graveyard setups. This can just summon a Magnum out back, and so you get access through that. It is also really good because it is a level 6 or higher Dark Dragon, so you can summon your Rebellion off that. If you have, for example, like Darkness Metal Dragon, Chaos-based Magnum, you can do some really cool plays with that going first. And overall, I just really think this is the go-to normal summon as a secondary engine. I thought about playing the Chamber package to beat Nibiru, but then I figured if I just have one of these as a normal summon and I enter on Seal plus like a Rebellion and I get nibbed, then I can just get the other one out. So for example, if I started with Safred, I went through the 2 baby dragons, I can just summon this out, link it off, and search this, banish the link off, summon out of the graveyard, and go into the second seal. So I really didn't need the extra targets for Nibiru, just because I basically had them already in my deck. This just really helps. It is 6 normal summons, so that's just slightly more than what you want, but you can always just summon the Safred out of this, and this just really helps extend into Masquerena boards as well. So overall, this package is really clean, in my opinion. And the amount of consistency it gives is just too important. Then the last package, and this is sleeper OP in this deck. I have 2 Albion and 1 Fallen of Albaz. This might seem weird, but it just works out so good. The 2 Albions are just really good because they're upstart, and in a pinch they can send in Fallen of Albaz to get a Dark into the graveyard, so that I can maybe trigger like a Noctovision or something, and not a Noctovision, a Magnamid, and I have like a Lubellion or something, so that I can at least enter like a Magnamid Branded Beast. So this is really good, but also this can send Branded Regained to the graveyard, just be an upstart while also just doing that. So an upstart which sends Branded Regain. So if I go for the standard combo, because you have to go for Beast in this current format, just because Kashtira is just way too strong, and popping the first normal summon, the first summon is really good. The first special summon, not normal summon. So we have to go for Branded Beast, but we always want to have Branded Regained available. So in Albion, I have a very good consistency card. It is an upstart, which can give me a Dark into the graveyard to trigger like to be like a solid 2-card combo with Rebellion. But also, if I have a good hand, this is just an upstart which gives me to full combo because it gives me to Branded Regain, and most importantly, it is a draw 1. So in my main combo, I can draw up to 3 cards with a thin deck, getting me access into all of my really good defensive staples I have in my main deck. So Albion is honestly just really insane, and I haven't even talked about Albaz, because Albaz is insane, and I always keep this in going second. I side out the Albion package and the 1 Branded Regained and 1 Dark Metal Dragon, honestly, almost all of the time, sometimes even more, depending on the defensive staples, of course, being good or bad. But Albaz is an insane card, because back then, or like still, the deck just struggles to beat a board. It can run over a few things, but if things are over 3k, so most of the times extra deck stuff, it can just struggle a lot. But now, for example, if I play against Sword Soul, I can just leave the Baron and Jijo on the board, because I can just Seal Bounce, summon Fallen of Albaz, and make a Mirror Jade. With like you bounce one of the extra deck summons, and then you use the other extra deck summon for the Albaz, and then you just make a Mirror Jade and you have additional disruption. So this card is really insane going second, because our game plan is just Seal Pass, but this just helps make Seal Pass even stronger, because you have so much disruption of just 1 seal if the situation asks for it. So Fallen of Albaz is really strong in this deck. And now for hand traps, because I feel like, or like defensive slots, because I feel like, oh, my camera is shaking a little bit. Because I feel like hand traps are just really good right now because the meta is so diverse or just not really solved yet. And hand traps just give the most consistent performance in my opinion, especially if you can play 12. I just opted for Veiler, Imperm, Ashe, and Nibiru just because they're really good against basically everything. Even against Despia, Nibiru is really good right now just because the new combo just summons way more than it did before. So these just really help. Nib and Veiler being light helps as well, just to get your own Magnumits going. So if you have Veiler plus Magnumit, you have a really strong going second hand because resolving your Magnumit going second is insane because it's then just another starter. Imperm is really solid against everything. Ashe is really good right now because it's really good against our worst matchup. And Nibiru can be an auto win against every rogue deck, especially together with Veiler or Imperm. Now for the extra deck, for Link 1s, Striker and PHHY. Nothing really to say about that. Thought about maybe playing another PHHY just so that I have additional Link 1, but honestly not needed. And then 1 seal and 2 seals, not more needed than this. You can always recycle them with Chaos Base or Regain, so theoretically you have infinite seals, so I don't think I need more. And then 1 Masquerena to turn additional gassy hands into more disruption. The Dark Line, this is really good because it can also summon Magnumits, of course, into Unicorn, also as a seal target and access code. And then as an additional, not seal target, Masquerena, sorry, as an additional Masquerena target, I have 1 Appaloosa. Sometimes it just comes up. You can theoretically also make this going first sometimes, but this is not really a play. Sometimes if I have the feeling my opponent has a nib, I can make this with like 3 to 4 materials if they don't expect it, and then I have like still some good disruption. But Appaloosa doesn't come up that much. And then for the XZs, 1 Attuned, this card is insane. Just getting a Safered Black Metal out of the deck or like a Magnumit if we don't have it is really solid. 1 Fanfan to out annoying stuff. And then 1 Gaia, because this is actually a dragon, so we can go Attune, summon something, overlay, and still attack, and either go into a Seal or into a Zeus with the XZs. And also Gaia turns Fanfan into a Zeus as well with materials, so at least use defect. And Zeus is just really strong right now. Considering playing a second copy of this just because it is so strong against Kashtira. But then again, if they have like board, we cannot really play anyway, so I don't think we have to go for that additional one. Now the 2 last slots in the extra deck are the most questionable. There should be 1 Albion, but I don't have it right now, so this is just a Lubellion. And the 1 Mirror Jade. And I'm really not too sure if these should be in the extra deck or if I should be playing 2 Lingerebos to beat the Ibli lock. So it is really hard because these definitely come up, and the more I play around Albaz being in the extra deck or in the main deck, the more it comes up. So this is definitely a very solid pick, but Lingerebos could also be very solid, especially because a lot of our because Kashtira is a really solid, really hard matchup for us, but then again, we also have the Bystial, so we are better prepared against the Ibli lock than most of the other decks. And if we just normal summon one thing, we can always link into a Link 2, unless they have the Arise Heart setup going. But in theory, I don't know if I need the Lingerebos, but this will just be telling. So I have 2 slots easily swapped out for Lingerebo, because while Fallen of Albaz is cool, this is definitely not mandatory to have by any means. It's just something which comes up sometimes. So yeah, so this should be either 2 Lingerebos or it should be 1 Albion and 1 Mirror Jade. The cool thing about Albion is also that you can get yourself a Branded Regained with it as well, or I think maybe even Branded Beast. I don't know if it adds traps as well. I think only spells. No, you can also set traps, I think. Anyways, so this is just really helpful to get some resources, I think. But yeah, other than that, the Mirror Jade is definitely solid, but Lingerebos might be a little better depending on how many Kashtira players are really running around. So for the side deck, like I said, I really wanted to beat Despia, so I have 3 anti-spell for the going first card of choice. This is also just really good against Kashtira. They play a shit ton of normal spells. Talents, Thrust, maybe not all of them, but a lot of Talents, a lot of Thrust, Field Spell, Terraforming, Theosis, Birth, all of them they cannot really activate, and then they are just really done to 1 disruption on their first play. So if you have anti-spell plus 1 pop, they cannot really play most of the time. So I really like that. Also really good against Despia because it's basically just a turn skip and afterwards we OTK. And then I have the Gamma package, especially early on in the format with a lot of janky decks running around. I really like the Gamma package just going second, just siding it basically every time, because it's just really solid overall, and it really helps against a very generic meta. Book of Eclipse as a 3 of course. This is the best card against Kashtira. It helps against the Iblilog. It just only loses to Ash, but all of the cards do have a downside basically to them. And this one is just the best in terms of having the littlest downside. It basically only loses to Ash, and having the best like effect, because the effect is really strong. It just completely skips their board. And the downside is just an Ash, and if they have an Ash, they basically have an out against every other card as well, because they can just make a Baron as well. So Book of Eclipse is really solid. Also, if you draw 2 of this, they have no counterplay at all, and you can also make use of this going first. I was close to main decking this one. Depending on how popular Kashtira will be, I might main deck them as well. And then lastly, because I am still anticipating some form of stun decks, I want to have 3 evenly. This card is also not the worst against Kashtira, but for our matchup, it doesn't really help because a Rise Heart alone really screws us. So evenly is not something which I'm planning to side against the deck. And then 2 Lightning Storm, thinking of making these Cosmics depending on if there's more like Runic Stun or if there's more Labyrinth. I'm expecting a lot of more Labyrinth because of Weeps and Waifu Bait, but this might change. But I really think, at least in the start of the format, where people tend to play more more trap decks, I feel like Lightning Storm makes more sense, especially with Labyrinth getting some new support right now and actually being pretty solid. I think these are solid choices for the side deck, but these 2 slots could change. I would probably always play 3 evenly, even though it has some anti-synergy with our deck, not even mainly because we play Bystial, but mainly because we play so many hand traps, so most of the time, the opponent's board is not really that established, when evenly has like really good value, but you can always play around that. But evenly is just really solid in the current format, and then these could be maybe more hate against Kashtira, maybe like 2 Lava Golems or something like that. Time will tell how these side deck staples will look like, but the main deck I'm really happy with. I wouldn't change a thing ratio-wise, so maybe the hand traps will be cut for like only like board breakers, but honestly, I really like the hand traps, and I feel like you are solid off with 12 hand traps in this format. So hope you guys enjoyed this deck profile of my updated Abyssial Dragon control list. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. Definitely check out my stream where I do a lot of testing with one, especially now with the new ban list format dropping on Dueling Book and actually having a letter reset. I'm definitely grinding on that and also doing some content on that. So definitely stay tuned for that. And without further ado, class is dismissed. You guys are free to leave. Professor Sunreis out. Peace.